Hello everybody and welcome back to the Mongooly Show. We've got some big news for you today. Scopely's been hinting for quite some time that Professor Xavier is coming to this game. Benny Westside once pointed out in this image that Professor Xavier is hiding back there. Now this is the Krakoan era age of Professor Xavier with his Cerebro helmet on, the one that can walk around. And then we had that video pop up recently for the 6th anniversary where it ended saying like there's a new challenge coming or something with that giant X door, the one that leads to Cerebro. So this has been hinted at, but now we have the actual news. Professor Xavier is coming to this game. It's going to be a year-long event called the Age of X. It's going to resemble the Age of Apocalypse, but they promise us they've learned from their mistakes. Do we believe them? We'll find out. I've got Updog here with me. We're going to have a conversation, go over everything we know, and give you our hot takes on what we think. Is this a good thing? Is this a bad thing? What can you expect coming up in Marvel Strike Force? Now, don't worry. Mephisto is still your main goal right now. This is long-term. This is way out there, so we don't need to be worrying about this just yet, but we are going to discuss it, give you all of our initial thoughts. Let's get into the video. All right, I'm joined with Updog here, another fellow Envoy of mine. We just had the phone call with the Envoy program, with some of the community managers a couple of days ago, so we've had a few days to process this, and now we can actually bring it to you. What we're looking at for the next year is the Age of X, where we're going to be unlocking Professor Xavier like we did with Apocalypse. Now, right off the bat, what do you think about that, Updog?
It's pretty big for the game, you know. I've always seen people asking for him. I know fellow content creator ZKG has been super excited about him coming. So, yeah, it's going to be, I hope that people don't get disappointed or hope they don't get let down, but I don't think that the devs will let that happen either. So,
I sincerely hope not. I have mentioned on this channel many times, I like having a long-term goal. That being said, there were things with Apocalypse I wasn't a big fan of, and I'm hoping they tweak them this time around. They gave us a lot of encouragement in the sense of like, trust me, but they didn't give us any solid evidence on that one. So we'll get into what we do know, and we'll let you guys know. But and then we'll kind of get into our thoughts as far as like what do we actually expect to have happen over the next year. Now, it's important to notice that they want to stress that Mephisto is what we're working on right now. They're just showing that Professor Xavier is sort of looming on the horizon. They were nervous because apparently when Apocalypse came out, once people got him, there was nothing for them to do, and they said they lost a lot of players. So that's all they're trying to do now is just kind of let people know that there's something else coming down the road, something else to work towards, right?
right, yep. Yeah, they said a lot of people, they're like, unlocked APOC, and they're like, well, I guess I'm done with the game. So they saw some people leave, so.
Yeah, they want to make sure that there is not an end to this game. There's no profit in ending the game.
Yep.
So it looks like this is going to start relatively soon, though, because I'm seeing that in the first week of April, they're going to release the first Age of X event. Now, this is going to be a mini event. It's going to be a campaign, and it's going to be very heavily tuned towards new and returning players. Now, what that says to me is you're probably going to be able to sim your way through this if you're an existing player pretty easily, probably get some rewards, but not get super excited. But this is a way to try and like bring in those people who are like, oh, finally, Professor Xavier's here. I keep wanting to call him Apocalypse. Professor Xavier's here. Now I want to come back to that game. Do you think this is a good idea? Or do you think this is going to bore long-term players?
I think it's great. And, you know, one of their main goals for this year is getting new players caught up closer or faster to the end game, and also getting returning players, you know, getting caught up as well. So this works right into their plans they've been working on. I think it's an awesome idea. So yeah. I'm kind of excited to see how that plays out, you know, what they have in store.
Yeah. Now, they did mention on a previous call something along the lines of there's going to be incentives for people to return to this game. And when asked, like, should people wait for those incentives or jump in right away? They stressed, no, jump in right away. You'll still get those incentives for down the road. So I'm assuming this is that event. This is the event that's going to reward people for coming back to the game. So if you've got old teammates or friends who used to play the game and enjoyed it but got away from it, I think now is a great time to get back into this game. You've got the 6th anniversary stuff going on. And just the game's in a healthier place right now than it has been in quite some time.
Right. Yep. I've had quite a few people who have been in my alliance before. I'm the leader of my alliance for the
Nice.
past, I don't know, 3 4 years, something like that. And so I've seen a lot of people lately in the past, especially in the past 3 to 6 months, come to me and say, "Hey, I'm gonna come back. Where what should I get started on or whatever." So luckily, my cluster has various levels of raids and stuff going on, so we can usually find them a spot and everything. But yeah, this is hopefully we see more of the people coming back.
Nice. Now, as far as Xavier goes, because those people are actually here to talk about, it does point out that he is a, it says tier 0 character. That's a term I'm not familiar with. But
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they just mean he's a top tier character, right?
Right. Yeah. Yep. I actually double checked on that earlier today, and yep, they just said that just means top tier. Just I would assume think of it like Apocalypse, a Mephisto level character.
Yeah. Now, they do point
Okay.
out that he does have the X-Men tag, and so that's going to lead to a lot of theory crafting, which is a lot of fun. But they also stress that he is a true plug-and-play character, and you're going to be able to put him anywhere you want. I think that's
Yep.
incredibly cool.
Let's say the past year we've had Quicksilver, we've had Black Knight as really true plug and play characters. I think they would probably consider them as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's always nice to have those on your roster. You need to fill a spot or maybe build a team around Professor X, something like that. Especially like in Crucible or War, when you are running low on characters that you need to use, and you're like, oh, just do Professor X and these other 4 characters. So
Now, one of the things it does mention is that over the course of the next year, it's going to have a lot of content that is X-Men focused, because of course it's Professor Xavier, but not everything is X-Men focused. Now, the way I'm taking that is, with the Age of Apocalypse, you had the 4 Horsemen, but realistically, Morgan Le Fay and the Darkhold, as well as the Gamma Team, don't really have anything to do with Apocalypse in general outside of this game. Is that kind of how the same way you're going to think that this is going to work, where you're going to have some X-Men characters, but then they're going to shoehorn some other characters into this storyline?
yeah, I think so, and hopefully we'll get more reworks, right? Like the reworks that we didn't get for the most recent X-Men characters. Maybe some of the older ones will get worked in there. But yeah, I'm thinking. Well, first of all, don't hoard, like Mongoli was saying, don't hoard any of your gear just waiting for Professor X to come, because yeah, it is going to be a year-long thing. But yeah, I think there will be a few teams, not mutant, because in some of the campaign stories they've talked about him, like Kestrel, I think, is mentioned in Deathpool, I think has as well. So
Okay.
it's pretty much, I'm sure there's going to be a couple, maybe another Marvel Strike Force original character coming along the way at some point too. So maybe there'll be a team around them. Who knows?
Yeah, fill out that 5th member slot. That'd be good. Now, the one thing that we were asking about and they would not clarify on is, are we going to have to build the exact same team? Or is this going to be Apocalypse 2.0, where we just have to build the exact same 4 teams as everybody else? Because that ruined the meta. It really shifted a lot of things in this game, and a lot of players weren't happy with that. And the best answer we got out of them was like, we learned our lesson, trust us. And it's like, do we? Do we trust Scopely to have learned their lesson on this one?
Yeah, it's kind of a wait and see thing
Yeah.
for me. I mean, they have a history of having really good ideas on paper, but a lot of the times their execution or implementation isn't as great.
Yeah.
So I'm cautiously optimistic, I guess.
I think that's exactly where I'm at as well. Like, I want to be stoked for this so badly, and then I just have flashbacks of like the arena being the exact same arena team. Like
Right.
everybody that you face for like weeks on end is just the exact same 4 people or 5 people, and you're just like,
Right.
please let us do something different with this.
Fortunately, we have to just wait and see. Hopefully, they don't design Professor X's kit until it gets closer to the time that he comes out, because we had that problem with Apocalypse where they designed him a year, like when he was first announced, and then when he came out, we already had a counter with 2099 in Spider Weaver, and they had to make some adjustments, and so hopefully they learned that lesson as well.
Yeah. Now, I think they did do a good job ultimately with Apocalypse. I know mine's quite strong, and I like using him pretty much everywhere. But yeah, the initial release was disappointing, to say the least. One of the things people ask about in this game is like, where is Professor Xavier? Why isn't he in this game? He's like an Omega level mutant. He's like one of the strongest characters in Marvel. Why is he not here? Apparently, that's going to get answered in this storyline. Do you read these storylines?
Sometimes the Horseman ones I did. The anniversary one going on right now is pretty funny, pretty good. So, but like the whatchamacallit, the trials or the Scourge ones, I don't do as much.
Yeah.
But like the Saga ones, I did. I don't know
Okay.
why, but I just like to breeze through the Saga or I'm sorry, the Scourges and the trials, so I can get to my next match and get going. So
Yeah, exactly. When I first started playing this game, I did the campaigns, and you're like reading along, and at some point, very early on, I'm just like, "Oh, there's a skip button." Like, it was like never really looked back. So, I'm curious where Professor Xavier's been, but I don't know. The storyline has never been the reason I play. Now, it does mention here that legendaries and other teams will be connected to the overall story of Age of X, but they aren't designed to combine into an Apex team. So we're not going to get a Apocalypse and his 4 horsemen type of deal with Professor Xavier and whatever the 4 characters are that you're going to require to use them. If you do, in fact, need 4 characters to unlock them, we don't actually know exactly how that's going to work.
right.
Are you anticipating it being similar in that vein, or you think they're going to go really off on a different way?
I think it would be really cool. We've been starting on the 7 Deadly Sins characters, right?
Oh, okay,
Or the
yeah.
Costumes, anyway. So we've already gotten 3. I think it would be cool to do, 4 more, have 7 of them, and if you, I don't know if you want to make it like a costume a requirement or not, but at least have the 7 characters unlocked, and like how they did with the sagas where like Weaver and Deathpool were on a team with, I don't know, some of the Gamma members or something, and if they did something like that,
Yeah.
that I wouldn't mind that. But
Now, there's nothing that leads itself to Professor Xavier in quite the same way. Because, like, obviously, Apocalypse has his 4 horsemen. Like, everybody knows that, even people who are not big Marvel or Apocalypse fans. There's nothing, like, the only thing that really speaks to that for me for Professor Xavier would, of course, be the X-Men, which we've already got so many X-Men in this game that I don't even know who else they could really bring out at this point. Like, Nightcrawler was, I think, the last one that everybody was like, yeah! And now it's like, all right, I'll take... I don't even Husk sure, but like
I'm not sure how they're gonna fit more X-Men in, but I guess building onto my 7 Deadly Sins characters, maybe Xavier can mind control them to go back to his side in the story, and that's how we get to unlock him or something.
So one of the problems a lot of people had with the Apocalypse saga is that it was really kind of confusing for people who weren't around from the very beginning, whether they are newer players or returning players. It was tough to get into that and figure out exactly what you're supposed to be doing and get caught up to where everybody else was. One of the things they're saying with this is that new and returning players should be able to hop into the game, play the events they love, and just enjoy the Age of X story without feeling like they have to play catch up. Do you believe that at all?
It's a hard sell.
That sigh pretty much told me what I needed to know.
It's a hard sell based on their history, but prove us wrong, Scopely. Please prove us wrong. Prove us doubters wrong. I think that would be amazing because, like you said, there was always people asking, well, should I go for Apocalypse or should I go for like Dark Dimension 5 or 6 or whatever? Yeah. I always had those questions all the time.
Yeah, pulling your resources in different directions.
It'll kind of depend on the unlock requirements, which we don't know about those yet. I'm not even sure since DD7 is year 19. Are they going to do purple ISO? Are they going to do more diamonds? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, they mentioned this is going to be like, this is starting right away, but this is a long way out, and quite frankly, for most players, like Mephisto is a long way out for me. I feel like I'm in a better place to get Mephisto than I was to get Super Skrull when he first came out. Like I'm a higher level player now than I was then, but even so, it's going to take me a long time to get into Mephisto range. So even if this is a year out for Apocalypse, Mephisto's a year out for me, so it's still going to be that fighting back and forth of what am I building, what do I need to build right now to get what I actually want.
Right. And that's what I tried to stress to them anyway. I'm not sure if if my comment was getting through to them, and maybe you can talk about that a little bit, since I was kind of driving during the phone call, so I didn't really get to see their reactions as much. But I was trying to explain to them, like, okay, you guys are announcing Professor X. That's awesome. That's huge for the community. Great character. However,
Yeah.
the average player, or even the highly engaged players, probably won't even get Mephisto until sometime, let's say like July to September, something like that. I would say the top 1,000 people, that would be about the time frame. So
Yeah.
by then we're already going to be, let's see, April. So yeah, by then we're already going to be what, 6 months into the Age of X thing. So
About that, yeah.
yeah, well, I really hope they prove us wrong. Prove us doubters wrong.
So I understand from their perspective that they want to have something for Beta Ray Bill to look
Right.
forward to and whatnot. And like, that's
Right.
great. I get that it probably really hurt them that somebody like Tadano Mac unlocked Apocalypse and bounced, right?
Yep.
And they probably are trying to avoid doing that going forward. And I get that.
Right.
But
Right.
bringing this character out, like the embargo lifts on this probably something like 4 hours before the Dark Dimension 7 officially opens.
Yep.
I feel like that's too soon. And a couple of us were trying to stress that to them, like, this is going to feel overwhelming for a lot of players. And they're like, no, it's like a year out. It's fine. And we're just like, is it? Like, okay.
Yeah, they sometimes I still don't understand why they don't get some of like the average player's thought process, because like you said, they are here to make money, their business.
Yeah.
They want to keep the spenders happy, but at the same time, let's just say there's 300,000 players in the game, right? You also want to try and think about the other 299,000 players that play the game as well,
For
and
sure.
how they'll feel. So
All right, so next is this is going to get interesting because we, as of recording this video, don't know what images we're allowed to talk about and which ones we're not. So we're going to talk about everything that we saw and might have to do some pretty hard cuts before this video comes out. So if some of these sentences get cut off, that's why. That being said, one of the first images we saw was Cerebro, I'm going to say, or the door to Cerebro with that giant X on it, like it was hinted at in the video that we just did. What were those called? The legacy videos? At the end of the legacy video, it has that giant X on the door. We saw that image with Professor Xavier in front of it, but the top X, that V portion, was removed, and there was a stranger, kind of a gunslingery looking person in the Wild West, just kind of like looking off into the distance. Any guesses on who that might be?
I have no idea. I actually never have read any of the comics. The reason why I'm here is because of the MCU.
Oh, fair enough.
I love the MCU movies, and so I'm like, I saw this game, I'm like, oh, okay, this looks kind of cool. So, and then
Okay.
it's been my one love ever since for the last 4.5 years. So
No, that's totally fair. That's totally fair. I am a big comic fan, but of like Spider-Man and X-Men, and everything outside of the range is kind of like, maybe I know a little bit, but not a whole lot. So I was not going to say that I was relying on you, but I was kind of hoping you had a guess there, because honestly, I don't. The only thing I can think of is I know there is a Western Ghost Rider, but I don't really know if we need a fourth Ghost Rider in this game.
yeah.
And nothing about him screams like Flaming Skull or anything like that, just for people if you can't see the photo. But
True. I've been hearing people want the 1 million BC Ghost Rider, so I don't think that the
Never even
cowboy
heard of
one
him.
would be. Yeah, I really like learning about. It's really nice for me, since I don't know much about the characters, other than hearing about some of them. It's nice for me to kind of learn about the characters that come to the game too. So
very cool. All right, so I'm getting the impression, based off that image, that we are going to, over time, unlock the other portions of that X, and those will be the 4 characters that we're going to unlock. Now, you said you were driving, so I don't know how well you saw that photo. Does that make sense to you?
Top
Or
half of it. Yeah, I saw the top half of it. I think I don't remember the cowboy guy.
Nope, that's fair. That's fair. One of the other images that we saw was the concept art for Professor Xavier himself. Now, we are getting the Krakoan era of Professor Xavier. So he's going to be standing, walking around. He's got like a black jumpsuit on, as well as that giant Cerebro helmet. They did mention they gave him racing stripes because otherwise he's just too black and he can't really tell what's going on. It just looks like a shadow rolling around on the ground. I think that's kind of a fun look for him. I'm okay with that.
Yeah, it was cool. I did see that one, so yeah, I liked it a lot.
Yeah. They gave us some more options, like more classic versions of him in like a business suit with Cerebro and a business suit without Cerebro, in like a weird tech suit. But none of them, like, even though the Krakoa era one is pretty new, at least it was kind of iconic, whereas all the other ones were just kind of like a dude in a business suit. And it was just like, I'm pretty okay they didn't go with that. They did want to stress, because obviously everybody wants yellow floating wheelchair Professor Xavier. They did touch on that and straight up said that was never really an option, because when they designed the game, they didn't really design the hitboxes for that. So like they could make his attacks and it'd be okay, but every time he got attacked, a lot of the attacks would go straight over his head and look really, really goofy.
Right.
I can understand that. I can respect that. Obviously, I would love to have yellow wheelchair in the game, but I will take, standing up with Cerebro. It does mean we're probably never going to get MODOK, and that makes me sad, but so be it.
I don't know. I mean, they reused. They told us they did reuse Rocket's rig for Cosmo.
True.
So if we can have apparently we can have floating characters, but we can't have ones that are lower to the ground.
Yeah. All right, and that's pretty much all that we actually know about what's going forward. As far as what we expect to have happen, or what we'd like to see happen, there are some pitfalls, obviously, with this system from last time, but I have to say, as a person who really, really likes having a long-term goal, I'm excited for this. Now, that's not to say that I'm walking into this blind, because obviously Scopely can find ways to screw up. They don't even have to try all that hard. But in general, I really like the idea of having something really, really long-term to work towards, so I'm really excited about this. What do you think? Are you looking forward to having this goal that you can work towards? What would you like to see come of this? What do you want to...
Yeah, I think it's a really good idea on there. Like I said, it's a really good idea on paper. I hope they follow through with it well enough for all players, new, returning, and veterans.
Now, in the in the Fox universe, and nowhere else, he had the ability to stop time, or at least it perceived that he could stop time. That would be a really interesting mechanics, if he could just like stop your opponent's speed bar from filling up for a turn or something like that, where you just like, it's not a rewind per se, but it's definitely like you just stand there and just take a couple of hits.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Yeah. I think they probably could do that because they already have this character cannot gain speed bar or additional speed bar, so I think that could be a possibility for a mechanic they could put in. Let's just hope it's not bugged and broken when it first comes out.
No chance of that. They're very good with that. I think that's where we're going to call the video. So, Updog, where can people find you?
I'm on Twitch on Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, and Sunday nights at 8 p.m. Central. And I do YouTube videos a couple a week or so. And then on my Discord, I do Stormwatch every week. If you guys have seen that before, it's basically a recap of what you're going to expect for the events coming up in the upcoming week. And I do other infographics too, just doing all sorts of stuff, trying to help the community out.
Perfect. And we'll have links for those down in the description below if you want to check those out. All right, huge shout out to Updog for hanging out with me. And if you want to hang out with me, you can do that over at twitch.tv/TheMongoolie Show. We go live Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, so you can come check that out. Hit that follow button so you know when we go live. If you made it this far in the video, consider hitting that like button. You probably did enjoy this video. And if you want more of this content, hit subscribe so you know when that stuff comes out over here on The Mongoolie Show. Let me know down in the comments below. Did you like anything that you saw about Professor Xavier? Are you nervous about having another Age of Apocalypse style event? Who do you think that gunslinger is? I'd be very curious to know all of your thoughts on those subjects. Who do you think the other 3 characters might be? Or do you think there'll be more than 3 characters? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. I would love to hear from you. And until next time, Commanders, good luck to you.